In these conversations, we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. Do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain that. Just do you think there are more than two sexes?
The president of the Human Rights Campaign just told the United States Senate that there is an infinite number of genders. And when asked whether biological males have a physical advantage over biological females in sport, she couldn't give a straight answer. Senator Kennedy didn't let it slide. This exchange needs to be seen by every American. Stay back while I show you what happened in there.
Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. Do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain that. Just. Do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to acknowledge. But sex is assigned at birth.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused. So you're born, I'm talking about biology, male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged, but again, I'm not a doctor here. What I can say
what does intersex mean?
Is that there's a difference between sex and gender, and I think in these conversations we're conflating the two.
Well, but I want to start with sex. Okay, there's male, there's female. When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez as I'm not a physician.
Okay. And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive, and the definitions are always growing. Today I can tell you, I talk to young people that talk about non-binary as
more than five.
I think the gender is not a binary, is what I'm trying to say.
Are there more than five genders? I'm just trying to understand. Are there more than five genders?
Well, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate for their gender, and yet I'm wearing pants today. I think that there are ways that we express our gender that are expansive.
Are there more than five?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming how many genders there are, but what I can say is that gender is a reflection.
Number?
Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different genders that exist. And I can also say that it's a term that's evolving. If you look at young people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man. So I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identities are, what their gender identities are.
All right. Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes: male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And there are an infinite number of genders, because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Okay, biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real-world experience?
It depends. There are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sport. In sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kennedy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is that there is not a definitive advantage in all cases. Sir, I don't know if you believe that you could beat Serena Williams in tennis, but I probably think that that's not the case. There are not all cases where all men are physically superior to all women. And at the end of the day, in this conversation, we're not talking about that. We're talking about trans women who are, in fact, women, who deserve to play in a gender that matches their sports, who deserve all the benefits that Ms. Gaines is talking about. And as a cisgender Black woman, I can say definitively that my womanhood is not threatened by a transgender person asserting hers as well.
Senator Hirono?
What you just watched was not a debate. It was a dismantling. Senator John Kennedy sat down across from Kelly Robinson, the president of the Human Rights Campaign, at a Senate Judiciary hearing on LGBTQ rights, and he did what almost no one in Washington has the spine to do anymore. He asked simple, direct, factual questions and refused to move on until he got answers. It started with biology. How many sexes are there? Robinson acknowledged male, female, and intersex. Kennedy accepted that. 3 sexes. Fine. Then he turned the corner. How many genders are there? Robinson said gender is expansive. More than 5. Kennedy pressed. More than 5? Yes. Kennedy kept going. By the end, Robinson was on the record before the United States Senate arguing that the number of genders depends on your culture and is always evolving. Infinite, limitless, undefined. Kennedy let that answer sit in the room. He didn't have to say a word. The witness had done the work for him. Then came the Serena Williams moment that should have ended the conversation entirely. Kennedy asked the question every parent, every female athlete, every common-sense American watching wanted answered. Do biological males have a physical advantage over biological females in sports? Robinson refused to say yes. She pivoted to Serena Williams, arguing that men who claim they could beat her are wrong, that she is stronger. That was her answer. And then Riley Gaines, a decorated competitive swimmer who has competed directly against biological males in women's events, stepped in with one fact that stopped the room cold. Both Serena and Venus Williams lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player. not a top 10 player, not a professional in his prime, the 203rd ranked male. That is documented history. And Robinson had just used the Williams sisters as her primary example of female athletic superiority. The argument collapsed on itself in real time.
Kennedy closed it out plainly. He looked directly at Robinson and said what millions of Americans were thinking. You lose a lot of credibility when you will not concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. That is a proven fact, and it kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony. Then he made the broader point that the left refuses to engage with honestly. Nobody is saying that people should be discriminated against for who they are, but biological females have the right to compete fairly in sport, and parents have rights too. An infinite number of genders and the 203rd ranked male beat Serena Williams. That is the entire debate in 2 sentences. Kennedy put it on the record. Now the country has heard it. If you believe biological women deserve a fair shot in sports and that common sense still has a place in this country, hit like, hit subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Drop a comment below and tell me, what was the single most shocking moment in this exchange for you? I want to hear it.